Hey, what's up, guys? It's Russo with Backdoor Fantasy Sports. Really good to be back. Jordy held it down while I was in New Jersey. I actually took all of my stuff with me to New Jersey thinking like, okay, I'll do my remote setup and still crank out the videos with Jordy. Then I got up there, didn't realize they don't allow any type of daily fantasy up there. They allow DraftKings, but no player prop style stuff. And so I couldn't even access the board. So it didn't even make sense for me to jump on with him if I can't even see what plays are available. So he's taking the day off. I'm going to be running solo today. I'm so happy to be back after it. There was a lot of games I was really wanting to jump in on that I was unable to. So it was a real bummer. It was only like 4 days that I was gone, but it felt like a week or 10 days or something like that. But really happy to be back. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop us a comment, like the video. We appreciate the support. I've got 6 plays for you for tonight. Single game slate, but I'm building out a 6-man, so I figure why not just share with you what I'm getting into, and I'll explain why I like all these plays. We'll break them down in just a moment. Before we do, let's talk about our partners. I do things a little bit different and make it a little easier when I'm doing the solo videos. A little less production, but let's just talk about it real quick and then we'll get into the plays. Outlier, you guys see us use Outlier all the time. If you want to try that, I'll explain that too when I'm using it, but you just have to sign up through our link and they're going to give you 7 days to check it out. We're also partnered with Chalkboard, killer daily fantasy app, and they run specials every day. They have plays as low as $1, and the main thing about Chalkboard is you can adjust just about every play with a ton of different alt lines. It's really awesome. They're kind of the king of alt lines. If you use code BACKDOOR over at Chalkboard, you'll get 100% deposit match up to $100 plus a free pick to help you cash your first slip. And then Daily Grind, of course, another daily fantasy tool that we love. You'll see me using it here in just a moment. If you use code BACKDOOR over at Daily Grind, you'll get 25% off your first subscription. You can stretch that out all the way to a year if you prefer. Underdog, use code BACKDOOR. You'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash plus a free pick to help you cash your first slip. Might as well do Sleeper while I'm here too. Sleeper, if you use code BACKDOORFS, they're going to give you 100% deposit match up to $100. Just make sure you put that FS on the end there for that code. Parlay Play. We've got our 100% deposit match up to $100 plus a $5 promo slip that you get to make. And we're going to give you a month in our premium Discord. Just enter, just email us at bdfantasysports@gmail.com and we will get you set up. We just have to confirm that your code was used with Parlay Play. And then we will send you a link for a month in our premium Discord. And then last but not least, we have Better. You'll get a $200 deposit match plus a free pick to help you cash your first slip when you sign up and you use code BACKDOOR. So that covers all of the partners. Let's start talking about the plays here. So I'm going to be going with, pardon me for clearing my throat, just drank a bunch of coffee. I'm going to be playing it a little bit different. I'm avoiding 2 studs in particular. Let me just tell you about the plays and I'll tell you why I like them. So I'm going with Jameson Williams over 3.5 receptions. I'm going to be going with Ricky Pearsall over 4.5 fantasy score. I like Brock Purdy over 18.5 rushing yards. I feel like this is a sleeper pick week after week. They keep his line relatively low and he's actually pretty mobile, but we'll break it down in a minute. 18.5 rushing yards. I like him for more. Debo Samuel, I'm going to be going with 6.5 targets, wide receiver for the 49ers. I think he's going to have a good game. I think he'll just kind of like show out end of season. But I'm going to just go with the targets because I feel like that's pretty low, 6.5 there. So I'm going with targets. Tim Patrick, I like him to go over 2.5 receptions tonight. And then Sam LaPorta, I'm going to be taking the fantasy score over 11, tight end for the Detroit Lions. This is Monday Night Football, of course, December 30th that we're talking about. And so you notice I don't have any Jahmyr Gibbs in here and no Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's a good chance that they could still pop off, but because of this playoff situation, it's got me a little bit nervous. If we take a look here, the Vikings have clinched. the NFC North, playoffs. They're in the playoffs, and the Lions have also clinched. They're in the playoffs as well, but they're both battling for the NFC North. But who gets the top of the NFC North is not decided tonight. So the Lions will want to win this game. And at the same time, their more important game is next week against the Vikings, which is going to decide who gets home field advantage throughout all of the playoffs. So I got to think, with David Montgomery already out for the year, Jahmyr Gibbs, it makes me a little bit nervous. If the Lions go up by a lot in the first half, I think we could see a situation where you got to be careful. You can't lose Gibbs after already losing David Montgomery. So if it were me, I would scheme this game up. I'm thinking Ben Johnson is got to be thinking about that too. You can't, on a less consequential game, you can't risk losing Gibbs. So the usage has me a little nervous. At the same time, it's Dan Campbell, and what he's said so far is, we're going to San Francisco. We're going to win. We're going to play to win. He has kind of hinted that there's not going to be any sort of consideration for that type of thing. But at the same time, they've been in this situation so many times where they look so good all year, and something happens right around playoffs or during playoffs. They've come so close, and this seems like a year that they could really. I mean, they've looked good all year. This could really be their year. And losing Montgomery was a huge blow to the team. And so I just got to think that when push comes to shove, we could see the fourth quarter come around and Gibbs is no longer in the game. Amon-Ra St. Brown is no longer in the game if the lead is up by a lot. And I don't really expect this to be a very close game. But if we take a look at the over-under, Vegas has this at a 50.5 over under. So they're expecting a high scoring game. They have the Lions favored by just 3.5. So that's kind of surprising. At the same time, that makes sense, but I don't know what you do though, So what I'm thinking is, if the Lions can get this score up and get this game in the bag by the half, which we'll see if that's even something that plays out. But if that turns out to be the case, I could see some of their backup running backs getting a little bit of run, but I also don't think that would be the most productive approach. So I'm thinking Tim Patrick, maybe Jared Goff is still sort of just like picking them apart, moving the ball up the field slowly. If we see a situation where the Lions have a safe lead going into the half or through the third quarter, I just think, these lines for Gibbs are already inflated pretty high with Montgomery not in the game. And you can't risk losing Gibbs for the rest of your season, especially in a game like this. So I decided I'm going to fade Gibbs today. I know that he could absolutely pop off. He's an incredible talent. He's the new Alvin Kamara, and he's got all of the workload now with Montgomery out. But I just think they're going to have to scheme things up a little bit different and still think about the future here. So that's why I went with this setup. Ricky Pearsall, I like him. I like him with this 4.5 fantasy score. I think he's going to keep getting more looks as we're wrapping up the season. But let's start breaking them down one by one. Who do I have here first? Jameson Williams. So this is like a tough matchup for Williams. The 49ers remain tough on defense. They're second in receptions allowed to wide receivers, but at just 3.5, I think he can totally get this done. He's gone for 5 in 4 out of his last 5 games. And then the one he missed, he just needed one more catch. And that was like a crazy game against Buffalo, 48-42. But he just needed one more catch in that game to cash this once again. So I know he just popped off and went crazy on receiving yards in that last game. But 3.5 receptions is just, I can't ignore that. I'd rather take the receptions at 3.5. The receiving yards are a little bit more volatile. If we take a look here. So popping off for 143 against Chicago. But you can see it's been a little bit spiky, but we do have a trend there. I just think, they're also number 1 in receiving yards allowed. So I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and just take those receptions. I think he can average 1 reception per quarter, cash us that 4 receptions overall. And that's what I'm going to be running with. Let's see. There is a note from Outlier. So Jameson Williams has failed to exceed 3.5 receptions in 10 of his last 13 games on the road, averaging 2.3 receptions a game. So he's been knocking on the door, but just keep that in mind. If you don't like this play, you don't have to play it. But this is going to be an interesting game to see how this plays out. But I think Williams is one of those guys who they don't want to lose, but I don't think it's the type of thing where necessarily if they have to pick and choose, like who's going to get somewhat limited snaps, Williams would be one of those guys. I think that Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs are their guys that they really, really don't want any, stupid injuries in a game that isn't really deciding your future. So I'm going to be rolling with that. I forgot to pull all these up for a daily grind, but we'll just do it one by one. Let me pull up Williams here. Sorry, my computer always moves a little bit slower when I'm running everything here. So they like his receiving yards over 49.5. So you could take that if you like. 52.29% odds to hit the over, minus 129. And it is cheaper on Prize Picks. If you're playing on another platform, typically we'll break down better, underdog, all that. Since I'm running solo, I'm just basing it all off of Prize Picks. But if you're catching this receptions at 4, I still like it. 3.5 is just such a good deal, though, because 4 gets us the win instead of a potential push. But yeah, if you're on another platform and it's sitting around 4, and you see that receiving yards in that similar area, the receiving yards might be the one to take, but go with your gut. They like his longest reception over 22.5 as well. I know he's a deep threat type guy. I'm not particularly a fan of those types of props. Everybody has the props they like and they don't like. I don't really like the longest reception or the partial game props, or I kind of like to stick to where I'm getting the most time to get something done. So if he just goes crazy with receptions and he's just dinking and dunking throughout this game and never ends up exceeding a pass for 22.5, that's just not really my style. I steer away from stuff like that personally, but a lot of guys cash with those types of plays. So go with your gut. We got the 49.5 receiving yards looking good. I like the receptions at the 3.5 the best. So that's what I'm going to be rolling with. Next up, Brock Purdy. I know he doesn't do this that often, but I love these types of plays. I've talked about it in other episodes where you have a quarterback who you don't consider a rushing threat, but he's actually pretty decent when he does have to scramble. And it's not like a designed run type of quarterback, but in this situation, the Lions are a pass funnel defense, and they're pretty tough up front. But a lot of times when you've got that pressure up front, it forces the quarterback to break out, try to extend the play. And sometimes it's like, I'm just going to run for this first down. And we know that he's relatively quick when he actually goes for it. So he's only done this at a 50% clip over the last 10 games. 5 out of 10, but you can see that if he's not getting it done, there's only a couple games where he wasn't close. But Miami, they're a tough defense. He just went for 26 on them. Seattle, relatively tough defense, went for 40. Dallas, he went for 56. It's been hard to pinpoint an identity for Dallas this year on defense. This was back in October anyways, so that was back when Dallas hadn't really started to turn things up on defense. Kansas City's always tough. He went for 27 against them. The last time he matched up against Seattle early in the season, he went for 19, so he was right there knocking on the door. And then against Arizona, went for 33. So this is more of like an extended play. I'll probably even look and see. Let's see if he has a demon for this. I like these sneaky quarterback rushing yard demons he does. I'll tell you if I would take it. I mean, I'm throwing this into a slip as well, 24.5, because I don't think it's that much of a long shot when you're talking about demon plays. Those are tough to hit anyways. But 24.5 isn't scary. We're expecting him to get, what is the normal line at? Oh, they have a 39.5 too, 29.5, 18.5. So that lowest demon, 24.5, he needs what, like 6-7 more yards. So that's something I would consider too for a demon play. Let's take a look at Brock Purdy on Daily Grind. I will try to make this as quick as possible, but 6 picks running solo. It's going to take a little bit longer on this video. Well, they like his longest rush over 10.5. So if he gets one rush for 11, I think he's probably going to clear this regular line. They don't like his rush attempts at 4.5. They like his fantasy score over 18.5. They do like the rushing yards over 18.5, 50.82% odds to hit the over. So nothing too crazy, but minus 121. And I feel really good about this. I just think this is that type of setup where they're going to need to be extending plays. I'm predicting that the Lions are going to be able to get a lead in this game pretty early on, and then the 49ers are going to be playing from behind, but the Lions are easy to pass against. Not that they're not a good defense, but they're just like teams can pass against them. It's kind of like Tampa Bay, relatively tough defense, but teams can pass against them. The Vikings, same way, just softer on the secondary. So I think that he'll be playing from behind. They're going to have to pick up the pace a little bit, and there's going to be plenty of opportunities where he's feeling the pressure in the pocket and he just decides to extend the play, run up, try to get as many yards as he can. So feeling good about that play. Next up, we've got Tim Patrick. I've been a fan of this dude since he broke out. We liked him way back in the day, back in Denver, and he dealt with so many injuries. And then when he got traded to the Lions, it was pretty exciting that he, with all that he's been through, he gets to jump onto this contender. And it turns out he just really fit the vibe, the grittiness of the Lions. And they spoke really highly about him. I know he didn't get any receptions in that last game, but I like this situation here where the defense is going to be relatively tough. Maybe it's hard for St. Brown to actually get going, but I trust Ben Johnson to scheme something up to get his best guys going. But with the implications with playoffs, maybe we see a situation where in the fourth quarter, one of the main receivers on the field is Tim Patrick, but he's great when he gets his opportunities. He's cleared this in 3 out of his last 5 games. And that last time he played Chicago, he went for 2. Let's see here. Let's see how many targets he had. So he had 3 targets in that game and then converted that into 2 receptions. And so, yeah, wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, Tim Patrick, veteran, big bodied wide receiver, not the fastest guy, but he's good. He's he's decent at everything, and he's really got great hands. So it could be the type of thing where you could see him. We've seen games where he just randomly, he gets like 4 receptions and 2 of those are touchdowns. So I don't believe they had a fantasy score for Tim Patrick. Otherwise, I'd be interested in that. But I like his receptions over 2.5. That seemed like the best. The matchup is tough. Like we talked about earlier, the 49ers second in receptions allowed to wide receivers. But I like the opportunity here. And I'm curious to see what this second half of this game is going to look like if they don't want to run Jahmyr Gibbs into the ground. And if it's the type of thing where they're not necessarily trusting that they can implement their backup running backs the same way that they would, someone like Gibbs or David Montgomery. It might be the type of thing where it's like, hey, we're going to pass a little bit more than we normally would in this type of situation. So 3 receptions, I'm comfortable taking it. I'm throwing it in my lineup. And I don't know, let me see if he actually had a demon. Because if there's like a Tim Patrick demon for like 3.5, okay, so let's take a look. 3.5. This would be something I would maybe consider. It's a little bit harder to hit. I don't feel as comfortable as the Brock Purdy rushing yards, but I'm going to build out a demon slip. I haven't been able to play for a few days, so I'm going to make a YOLO for sure. And that Tim Patrick 4 receptions, 3.5 receptions, that'll be something I throw into my lineup as well. Let's take a look at daily grind real quick. They like his receiving yards over 27.5, 51.3% odds to hit the over. They have that as his best play, if you like that. They like his receptions to go over as well, just barely. They have it at a 50.54% odds to hit the over, minus 121. They slightly like his longest reception over 15.5. And then, yeah, other than that, that's the 3 that they like. I'm going to go with the receptions, and I'm going to throw that 3.5 reception demon into a slip as well. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. Tim Patrick. All right, Debo. So, this has been a bumpy ride for Debo Samuel. We know what he's capable of, but there's just a lot of mouths to feed in San Francisco, especially before Brandon Ayuk got injured. It's been a weird year for San Francisco. They have all the talent in the world, dealt with a ton of injuries. But Debo is healthy, Kittle is healthy, and Isaac Guerendo has looked decent. but he doesn't look as good as Jordan Mason or obviously Christian McCaffrey. So he's kind of just got that role because other guys ahead of him have gotten injured. But I think Debo has been kind of wanting to shine a little bit, and I'm sure the 49ers are frustrated that they won't be making playoffs, but I think they'll try to go out with a bang, and this matchup is solid for Debo. I liked, excuse me, I was looking for his fantasy score. I didn't see the fantasy score. I wouldn't mind that in a full PPR format, like Prize Picks. But yeah, I'm just going to go with these receiving targets, 6.5 receiving targets. I think they'll try to get him involved, try to get him the ball. The matchup is not tough. 28th in receiving targets allowed to wide receivers. 6.5 seems better to me than the 4.5 receptions line, because then you need 5 catches, obviously to cash that, as where if he's catching 5, I don't think he's going to go 5 for 5 and that just be the game he had. I think it's probably going to be like he went 5 for 7 or 5 for 8. So I'm just going to go with the targets alone and see how that plays out. But I think he should get plenty of targets in this. And I think Kittle could too, but Kittle's got a really tough matchup. That's why I ended up fading Kittle. I'll probably make some slips where maybe I take a shot and throw Kittle in there, because he's earned that respect where you don't need to necessarily fade him just because the matchup's scary. But this is tough. The one thing through the air that the Lions are good at is slowing down tight ends. So if we take a look at this is from last year, but if we take a look at the last time that they played the Lions, Debo had 9 targets. So that doesn't mean that it's a guarantee or anything. Nothing's ever a guarantee. But if I'm looking for plays on a single game slate, I think I'm going to throw the 6.5 targets in for Debo. Let's see if this is on Daily Grind. Okay, so they don't like his receptions at 4.5. They like his longest reception over 20.5 receiving, longest reception, 50.68% odds to hit the over minus 122. They like the receiving yards over 48.5. They don't like the targets. They have it at a 50% chance on the money. So 50% exactly. But I just think the narrative of this game, maybe we do see more Jennings and more Pearsall, but they kind of don't know how to gauge this. It looks like not a lot of platforms are offering the targets too, so they don't have a whole lot of data to crunch and compare. But I'm going to go with it. 6.5 receiving targets. If for some reason by the time you're watching this, they do give us Debo fantasy score, that's something I would take a look at, because he gets involved in a little bit of everything, especially without like a stud running back in. They give him a little bit of snaps, a little bit of like rushing attempts. And then a very physical player, great with yards after the catch. And he's very capable of getting into the end zone. He can pull off some big plays. But so I'm just planning on Brock Purdy, trying to get him involved. So let's go with the 6.5 receiving targets. All right, where are we at here? Just had Debo. Looks like I might be missing one on Outlier. Let's figure out who I don't have up here. But all right, so Sam LaPorta. I like him to be able to get this done with the fantasy score, full PPR. I think that this will be, let's take a look at what this looks like matchup wise. I just think this is someone who will get, who especially if there is a lead and this turns out to be the type of thing where, like everything I said about the narrative earlier, I could be totally wrong about this. This could be just an absolute barn burner. And because Dan Campbell is also that guy where he's like, we're going to give Jahmyr Gibbs 30 carries, even though this game, he's a roll the dice type of guy. So I would hope that he's a little bit cautious given this situation. But I think Sam LaPorta is someone who could benefit if we see somewhat limited snaps in the fourth quarter for some of the studs. I don't think this is someone that they would be taking out of the game. So I like him to be able to get this done. The receiving yards matchup is tough. Third in receiving yards allowed to tight ends. Let's see what the receptions look like. Okay, so Outlier likes this as an EV plus play. The receptions at 4.5. It looks pretty decent. The receptions still tough. Fourth in receptions allowed to tight ends. But he went for 4 against Chicago, so just missed it by 1 last game. And that was in a game that was a total blowout, 34-17. Against Buffalo, that barn burner, he had 7 receptions and then 5 receptions against Green Bay. And I'm just happy to take the fantasy score, because if he does go for 5 or 7 receptions, we know full point PPR, that's already 5 or 7 points. This line is only set at 11, so the yards attached to those receptions, if he went for 6 or 7, would probably come close to cashing us anyways. But if he happens to get in the end zone, which I could see him doing today, then we're really close to cashing this. Tough matchup, 4th in touchdowns allowed to tight ends. But this is also an expected value play, according to Outlier. He got 1 in that game against Chicago last week, and then last time he played Chicago, he went for 2. So great. He does well against Chicago. Hasn't hit any touchdowns since then. So go with your gut. But if this was a super high fantasy score and it wasn't full PPR, I might be fading this. But I just think that this could be a game where Sam LaPorta benefits from the narrative that we're dealing with here. So I'm going to just be taking the fantasy score, be attached to the touchdowns, the receptions, the yards. Just give me all of it. Happy to take it. And the fantasy score alone, he's cleared it 3 out of his last 5 games. And he had that game against Green Bay where he just barely missed it, 10.4. So he's knocking on the door of that 11 mark. And then let's see what he did in the head-to-head. He went nuts last year when they played. He went for 18.7 fantasy score. We know that is a different Lions team back then. That was when LaPorta was having his crazy rookie year. But now they've got other guys who have emerged, like Jameson Williams, and obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown's always great, but they've got guys who have emerged a little bit, and it's no longer just Sam LaPorta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. That game that he went for 18, he didn't even get a touchdown in that game. So it looks like, let's just take a look at what the receptions were. It must have been a decent amount of receptions here. Yes, we had 9 receptions. And just for fun, let's look at the yards in that game. Again, this is no longer the type of usage that he's been getting. But yeah, 97 yards. So he's averaging about 10 yards per reception in that game. But if we do have a situation where it's like they've got the lead, they got a hefty lead at the half, which may or may not happen. This is just the way I'm perceiving this game before it starts. If that's the case, maybe they keep peppering Sam LaPorta and just keep trying to run this clock, getting first down conversions and keep the clock going. So yeah, I'm going to be taking LaPorta. Let's take a look at what Daily Grind has to say about this one. They like his receptions over 4. That does look good. So if you want to take the receptions, they like that. They don't like the fantasy score at 11. It's because it's a little bit more expensive on Prize Picks at 11. We have a lot of platforms that have that in the mid 10s, except for BetMGM has it at 11.1. I'm comfortable with the 11. I'm going to be taking that for more, but they have this just barely favored to the under, 50.81% odds to hit the under, minus 103. His targets at 6.5 are a 50-50 shot. And so if you prefer the receptions at 4, go for that. I could see that because there is a world where he goes for like 5 receptions and like 50 yards, averaging that 10 yards a catch again. And that's all he does, and then the receptions cash, the fantasy score doesn't. But I'm going fantasy score because if he happens to get in the end zone, we're totally cashed. But like we saw last time he played them, he had a ton of work and killed that fantasy score, but he killed the receptions too. So I'm honestly kind of torn with this. So whichever of these two you prefer, receptions over 4 or fantasy score, I'm going to roll the fantasy score. But yeah, I do like that receptions over 4 as well. That's what's so great about Daily Grind. They put other plays on your radar that you may have just accidentally browsed over when you're doing your research. So I'm missing one guy here. Oh yeah, Ricky Pearsall. Let me just pull him up on Outlier real fast. Again, sorry it takes a little bit longer when I'm running solo, but I like to give you guys all the details. Ricky Pearsall, there you go. Shout out to Outlier and Daily Grind. I could not do what I do without all their help. They just make it a lot easier when you're doing research. All right, so yeah, this is someone who I think is going to keep getting more and more shine in this situation towards the end of the year. that last game against Miami, it's a tough matchup. They lost that game 29-17, but he still had a 7.7 fantasy score. I'm going with the fantasy score for the same reason, just like being attached to everything a little bit. So he had 4 receptions against Miami. But this situation, I just like this narrative. I like this pass funnel defense with Detroit, probably playing from behind. And the matchup is so soft for wide receivers. So 21st in receptions allowed overall, and then to wide receivers, 32nd, bottom of the barrel, very bottom, 32nd in receptions allowed to wide receivers. So I don't know. Let's see what Daily Grind says, because maybe there's another prop you guys like better. They have his receptions at 2. That's looking good. I have that as his best play. 51.82% odds to hit the over. That's probably going in one of my slips too, because I think he's going for 3 or 4 receptions tonight. But I think that these kind of do cash together. Full point PPR, 4.5. They have this favor to go over the fantasy score as well. 51.45% odds to hit the over, -105. These both look great. Let's see if Pearsall has any demons we can take a look at. Because you guys know me, I am just like, I love the YOLOs. Okay, so they have his receptions that we can move, 2.5. I'm all over this demon. I'm gonna play this for sure. The 2.5 receptions demon. Let's see what we're looking at for yards. 40 yards. Take a close look here because this matchup is just so juicy. And I could see end of season. Let's give our younger guys some shine here. 32nd in receiving yards allowed to wide receivers. He went for 37 in that game against Miami. I think this could be the type of thing. Yeah, I'm probably going to throw his. I'm going to play a little bit of Ricky Pearsall. Let's see how high we. So you have a 29.5 receiving yards demon, a 39. That's as high as they'll let us go. If this was able to go higher, I would YOLO that too. Let's look at the receptions. So the most they'll let us go is 2.5. This is going to be fun. I've been itching for it, man. I was so bummed that not only could I not make videos, but I couldn't even just play while I was up there. All these holiday games in New Jersey. Did see a few suspect things in the sky. As soon as we got in there, my wife and I, we were driving, we were just like, is that a plane? Is that a drone? Having a lot of fun with that up there, but they were probably all planes. But anyways, yeah, those are the 6 that I'm going to be rolling with. I think I covered everything. Let me just see if there's any other demons that I may have missed. So Jameson Williams, did we talk about a potential demon for him? Let's see if they've got one. All right, let's look at his receptions. 4.5. That's going into one of my slips. Absolutely. Tough matchup, but I'm probably going to be wrong about my narrative, but if I'm the Lions and my best running back is already down for the rest of the year, I'm not going to be stupid if we've got the lead. I'm not going to be stupid about, but Dan Campbell is a much smarter man than I am. He's an excellent head coach. And so whatever he decides to do, and he's a wild card. Like if I were an NFL player, the Lions would be a team that I would want to play for because the culture there just seems so awesome. He's a great coach. Can't say enough about that guy. The receiving yards demon for Jameson too. I'm throwing this in some lineups too because he is a deep threat. He's so fast. I'll probably make a YOLO where I just go hardcore, try to hit the highest multiplier I can. I'm throwing the receiving yards in here. I'll throw that 79.5 receiving yards in one. Definitely going to throw that 4.5 receptions in one. I'll throw that 5.5 receptions. That's a little, I probably will, knowing myself, make a YOLO slip with the 5.5 receptions too, but that is starting to push it. I think at that point, you're better off going the receiving yards if you're taking a demon. And so we talked about Pearsall demon. We talked about Jameson Williams demon, Brock Purdy demon, Tim Patrick. Did we go over a demon for Tim? If we did, I apologize. I just want to take a look again and see. So 2.5. Yeah, we did. We said there was a 3.5. Comfortable with that. Yeah, 39.5 receiving yards demon. They have a 49.5. I'll probably throw the 3.5 receptions demon from Tim Patrick in one, and the 49.5 receiving yards in one as well. And then Sam LaPorta. I don't think we talked. Maybe we did. Again, I apologize if I'm repeating myself. Come on. Sam LaPorta. So the receptions at 4. Talked about how good that looks. 4.5 receptions, demon. That's going in my slip for sure. And receiving yards. Receiving yards might be one that I'm not as interested in because I think they're going to be playing with the lead. And let's see what they're even looking like. 59.5. I'd rather just go with the receptions personally. So for the LaPorta demon, I'll be going 4.5 receptions. I should just been building this out. If you guys don't mind, maybe I will real quick because I already locked this in and I clicked reuse. So let's just build one out real quick. We're going to go LaPorta and then Tim Patrick. Essentially the plays that we're already taking, we're just boosting them up. We'll go Tim Patrick. We know we're going Brock Purdy. That way I can show you guys what the... Gosh, this autocorrect drives me crazy sometimes. Okay. 24.5. We can show you guys what the multiplier's looking like. And who else do we have? Jameson Williams. And I think that... What did we like better? 4.5 receptions, or do we want to throw the yards in here? Oh, so 59.5 might be... We'll test it. But yeah, 5 receptions. He is capable of more than 10 yards per catch. For now, let's see what it looks like with just the 4.5 receptions. We'll take a look at what that multiplier looks like by the time we're done. And who else did we have? My apologies. Let's see. I'm missing some guys. Okay. LaPorta, Pearsall. We got LaPorta in there. Let's go to Pearsall. Take that 2.5 receptions demon. And then who's left? Debo. I don't know if we even saw one for Debo. Receptions. 5.5. Let's pull Debo back up and look at him real quick. Where were you, bro? He does have a soft matchup. Wide receivers, 32nd. Yeah. But he is good with yards after the catch. Again, sorry for the long episode. Just having some fun with you guys. Haven't seen you in a while, so. This is Brock Purdy. Debo, where'd you go? Okay. I'm going to see what I'd rather take. Because I could see yards after the catch. Dude, he just went for 96. Let's go. And that's a tough matchup against Miami. Let's go with his receiving yards. Not bad. 99x for all 6x for 5 out of 6. And then just get your money back if it only goes 4 out of 6. So I'm just going to throw 5 on it. So we're going to go Debo receiving yards, 59.5. Ricky Pearsall, 2.5 receptions. Jameson Williams, 4.5 receptions. Brock Purdy, 24.5 rushing yards. Tim Patrick, 3.5 receptions. And Sam LaPorta, 4.5 receptions. And we don't have a rushing receiving for Debo. If they had rushing receiving yards adjustable, I might look at that. But yeah, I'm feeling good about this. We'll see if we can get this 99x. Lock it in. All right, we're good to go. Well, that covers everything. I hope you guys have had a great holiday season. I hope you're excited about the new year. Let's get this cash tonight. Yeah, if you want to come join our Discord, you can sign up through Patreon, or you can take advantage of the Parlay Play promo. Use code BACKDOOR on Parlay Play, email us, and we will get you in here for a month for free. I haven't been in here in a minute since I've been gone, but we have a great community. Everyone works together. A lot of 2-mans, a lot of 6-mans. Bean Daddy had a good day there. Nicely done, bro. Boston Nick, as usual. And Ziggy Zay. We got so many good people in here. I absolutely love our community. Oscar, Root was on an absolute tear. Dude hit 1,000x like a week ago. So these guys all work together. They talk plays. They piece it together themselves. Excuse me. And then we've got a section where you can just go tail what the community's doing. I'll show you. We got our share your picks section, and we put our slips in here, and then we have the link right there. If you see something you like, you just you got a quick link to tail it if you like what you're seeing. So if you want to come join us, use the Parlay Play promo, or just go to Patreon and sign up there. When you sign up there, it's $12.99 a month. So we brought the price down, less than 50 cents a day to be a part of our community. You sign up through Patreon. Once you're signed up, then you go into the settings on Patreon. There's a connected apps option in the menu bar, and then you can log into your Discord from right there. We're also on X, TikTok, Instagram. It's just at BackdoorFS on all of these. Let's see if I can get this to display without any political stuff. Yeah, great. So yeah, just at BackdoorFS. We're have our personal socials listed below too, if you want to follow us. It's all right down there below. But guys, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Like the video if you don't mind. Help us continue to grow. It's the best way to support us. Just liking the video. Drop us a comment. We do have 2 giveaways to do. I'm sorry that we haven't done that yet. We will do that very soon. I want that to be something where Jordy and I are both on so we can work it together. But we've got 2 giveaways. We're going to go back to those holiday videos. We're going to give away 2 Discord memberships for the little giveaway that we were doing a couple days ago. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Have a great Monday night. And I'm going to jump right into NBA. So I'll get some NBA picks out here in just a moment for you. I'll see you in just a bit.